his, being willing to reach across the divide, so to speak, really helps our business because, like I said, I am more of the wallflower. So I'm not going to be the one reaching out to a billionaire and inviting them onto our podcast.
Well, but the same thing holds true for any relationship. And I think, I don't know, my boyfriend, it's been almost 10 years, but we got together as adults. We got, I'm 53 years old. He's older than I am. We got together well into our adulthood. And yeah. I don't know if that's the difference or personality-wise the difference. But one of the things that just shocks me about so many relationships is just the lack of common courtesy for each other. They never give each other the benefit of the doubt, right? They would rather pick at each other. And I would just think that relationship partnership together, business partnership together, you've just doubled your chances of doing that and having to be very cognizant to not do that.
Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of.
Go and welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I'm excited for today's guest. You guys don't have your cool names. Is it right? Professor P and Dr. Z. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Patrick and Zelda. So here's the deal. I met Patrick at an event a couple months ago. We did an episode of your podcast. We have a very good time talking to each other. I love what you're doing. I think it's hysterical that you're working together because my significant other and I could not do this. My fault, not his. So we can get into all of that. But before we dive in all that, why don't you introduce yourselves, who you are, what you do? Let's get a little bit more formal about all those things.
Sure. Dr. Z?
You want me to start?
Yes, women first, ladies first.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Dr. Z, and I'm a life and weight loss coach. And now Patrick and I started our self-care program. So we're also transformational self-care coaches. And I have my training as a medical doctor, and I am also a forensic pathologist.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Professor P, what's your story?
My story is that I'm an entrepreneur. I used to be a regular guy, a regular job. I morphed into this crazy dude that went from wallflower to can't shut the guy up, and he's doing crazy stuff all the time. We are both, Zelda and I met, we're at a real estate meetup. So we're both real estate investors. We have multiple businesses. We have the coaching business. We have the real estate business. We have lending. We lend people money. Yes, we are a bank, technically. And a host of other things that we don't have time to talk about today.
Awesome. Very, 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 very cool. All right. Dr. Z, I'm going to jump right into this. Tell me more first. We'll get into your story of why it is you even think you should do this with your significant other. I have many questions there. But let's get into the self-care thing first. Tell me more about what drew you when I listen to your background. Because I know this is really your baby. And when I listen to your background and the education you have and the credentials that you have, how did you end up wanting to play in this space in particular?
Well, I have my own personal story in that I was kind of getting burnt out with my job, and I'd always been looking for something. And Patrick, he'll say sometimes how when we first met, he was like, "What are you passionate about?" And I'm like, "I'm not really sure."
I'm too exhausted to be passionate about anything right now, right? That whole feeling.
I remember even like he said, we were real estate investors. So even I finished my training back in 2000, and right away I got into real estate investing.
Because that goes together, life coaching, real estate investing. I get it.
Absolutely,
it's right there.
Of course. I said I'm sowing my wild
entrepreneur oats
in terms of what I want to do with the rest of my life. I even have my real estate license, but so I was kind of getting burnt out. But it was interesting too because back in 2015 I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so I knew that I needed to make some changes. Just with my lifestyle, I was overweight. And I was just struggling with my weight too, because I was like, I've got genetics, genetics are not on my mother was overweight. My grandmother was overweight. My aunt's overweight. And so I just figured I would be overweight. But I found coaching back in 2018, and I was just listening. Actually, I certified with the Life Coach School, but I started off listening to her podcast, and I lost 30 pounds just listening to her podcast.
Nice.
Because she gave me like a strategy, the no sugar, no flour. I started doing a little intermittent fasting, and it made it seem doable. So I think it helped to change my belief that it was possible for me to lose weight. So that was back in 2018. Now the life coaching. So when I started working as a forensic pathologist, I was really surprised because I still do it as in one of the wealthiest counties in Wisconsin. And I was seeing a lot of these young people dying of heroin overdose deaths. And I was like, that really amazed me, because I was like, man, they have everything, right? I mean, not all of them, obviously, but there's so many of them, they have money. I mean, I guess
externally, it appears
externally,
like they have everything, but you never know what anyone's actually experiencing.
You never know. And like, that was back in 2020. And, like at 20 years old or early 20s, I'm like, man, at 20 years old, I was just in medical school. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. The last thing on my mind was like getting high, right? And so I was like, what is it about that they have this quote unquote maybe great life, maybe not, but that they're making these life or death decisions at such a young age? And I was pretty much end of the line, right? I mean, once you come see me, you're not seeing any other doctor.
Right.
And
it's over.
So I wanted to do something. I really felt like I could do something to help them. And I think that's really what was driving my life coaching. And then with the weight loss, since I had lost the weight, then that made sense too. I could help people with weight loss, which is also some degree of addiction there, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the worst addictions you can have, because it's not something you can go cold turkey.
Because it's legal, right? And
it's legal. You need it to live, right? It's like you can't go off oxygen either. It just doesn't work that way. This doesn't work that way. But yes, absolutely. So you find this intersection between these things that you've experienced and these things that you know how to do, and a problem that's out there. And you go from medical doctor to entrepreneur, jumping off a cliff. I call it, you can jump off the cliff, you can push it, you can get pushed off the cliff. Either way, like we're falling off a cliff. That's what it feels like. So what's been some of your biggest surprises about the entrepreneurial world?
I don't know that I thought that it would be easy, because back in the day, like before I went to medical school, I sold Amway for a stretch. And I say I sold it, but I actually never sold any of it.
You and a whole lot of other people. So I think you're in good company on that one. You're fine.
And they would say you have to go and talk to people. Like when you're standing in line at the grocery store, strike up a conversation with somebody.
Because people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Great sales.
And I think being, and then also being a coach, they said, well, it's not the same, right? But I think it still is. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to be able to sell it. And I think I thought that, well, with coaching, I had gotten so much value out of it. I thought, this will be easy, right? But I think I didn't appreciate, as a medical examiner, as a pathologist, I never really had to interact that much with patients.
With other human beings, right?
Other human beings. And so I think I'm realizing now that there's a lot of nuances to it. And I say really this entrepreneurship is the greatest journey of personal development.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't really know the limitations. I didn't know where I was standing in my own, and still stand in my own way. So coaching has been so valuable to me in terms of that, opening up my eyes to where am I holding myself back? Why am I holding myself back? And so that's the power of it. Now, how do I articulate that to somebody where they're like, I have to work with you?
Right. Well, it's so true. And honestly, you know me, I talk to probably good 20 business owners a week, very easy, between clients and podcasts and networking and all of these things. And I can tell you, it's almost the smarter, more credentialed, experienced corporate or job success people are the ones who have the hardest time with this, because it's been a long time since they've struggled.
Preach.
Yeah.
Right? It's been a hot minute since something was hard. You're like, dude, I'm smart. I got a degree on the wall. I know how to do things. So,
and Erin,
what the heck?
what I say is it's a lot like learning a foreign language. Because Patrick and I, we've been in this German thing. I learned German back in college.
Well, you are in Wisconsin. I think that's kind of required, right?
Yeah.
But what was funny, so in college, that was my first exposure to German, but I lived in this place. It was the German house, which was the German dorm. And so we were supposed to eat dinner together. So every dinner we would sit together at this huge table and speak. Well, for the majority of the time, I didn't say any 2 words. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, the second semester, so I was only 3-4 months in, I got the opportunity to actually go to Germany. And lo and behold, Erin, I found myself sitting on a train having a conversation with this woman in German. And I was like, where did that come from? And there were people who had studied German throughout their high school, but I found myself, I was interacting with German people. I was talking a lot more than they were. And so that's what I really found. It's like, you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. And once you've gained some level of quote unquote success in your life in other areas, especially as a doctor, we're the ones that are supposed to know everything. We're the ones that are supposed to know the right way to say things and do things. And, like you and Patrick were talking about the bank profile, my knowledge is first. So to actually be in a situation where I'm unsure, where I don't know the direct path, I don't know all the steps to follow, that's very intimidating. And it's like, I could fail at this, right? Well, I'm just failing ahead of time, right? I'm
a big fan of that. And I think the people who I see are successful are the people who embrace that, who don't let it stop them or don't get a chip on their shoulder, but just absolutely embrace simultaneously that I'm going to fail at a whole lot of things, but at the same time, just as importantly, I'm also smart and things are figure outable.
And I see these 24-year-old coaches, they're like, oh, I just made my first sale. Oh, I just made $1,000 in a month. And I'm
no, they don't. Right, exactly. And it's a different world. They're doing different things. So let me flip it around for you, though. What's been your pleasant surprise about the entrepreneurial journey?
All of the growth, all of the people that I've met. Patrick constantly is taking me outside of my comfort zone, but we have
kicking
met
and screaming, but yes,
some incredible people. Like just this past weekend, I mean, it was a action-packed weekend. But we met the lead singer of Arrested Development. We went to I was said, let me get something healthy for lunch. We went to a restaurant that I ordered a salad. And before I knew it, Patrick was over there talking to someone, saying how he loved his hat. We go to sit down. They sit right next to us. And then right away, Patrick is like, what do you do? What do you do? And before you know it, and then it turns out his dad was a doctor who I had met. And I'm like, I would never have spoken to them if it was just me. I would have gone in there, got my food and left.
Found a quiet corner to talk in.
Exactly.
So I want to switch gears a little bit with you and bring Professor P here on the conversation, because one of the things that's somewhat unique, not exclusively unique, but somewhat unique, is this idea of working with your significant other. What in God's green earth made you decide that this was coming from someone who knows I can't do that? And it's not him, it's me. I know that I had he would be fine. I would be a mess. Like, what made you decide to take this venture, this piece of your adventure together?
Now you're asking me or Patrick?
Either one. Who wants to jump in?
Okay. Well, I've been sitting here quietly, so I'll say something.
Yeah.
What popped in my head when you started that whole asking that question is it's a delicate dance.
Sure.
Because the nice thing is with Zelda still working part-time a bit, there's separation there. I think what really makes it work for us is that we have assignments or we have tasks that, for example, putting together a podcast episode that we just put together this morning. She does the details and comes up with the title and all of that kind of stuff. And I edit and add the music, and then it just comes together. So we have our assignments, which makes it good. And then we've really developed this sense for when we're debating something and we both come to the conclusion, usually pretty quickly, you know what, let's just let that lie. Let's just change the subject because we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. We're just not going to agree. And we've gotten really good at that kind of thing. So we figured out, in my mind, there's always going to be stuff that comes up. But for the most part, you have to do things of that nature. You have to be careful. You don't want to spend too much time working together because you'll get burnt out on that. So,
well, it's not just burnt out. And I so agree with you, because I know several couples who have gone into business together. And one of the big mistakes I watch them make is they try to do everything together. And I'm like, dude, you got two of you. Divide and conquer.
Right.
Like if there was enough, right? Like divide and conquer. And so hands down, yes, absolutely. And right. And then have the respect or appreciate where is the line, who's in charge of what.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, brought to you by Conquer Your Business. With decades of experience, Conquer Your Business creates business and branding strategies that build multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. And we don't just show you what to do. We have an entire team of people available to help you do it, strategy and implementation. You can learn more and reach out to us by visiting conqueryourbusiness.com.
And I was just going to add too, like, I really appreciate Patrick. So whenever I start to get upset, because our styles are different.
Right.
Like I said, we went to State Fair. He's out talking to everybody and their mother, which is great sometimes. But sometimes it's like, it's a little much. And
Right.
so I find myself, I might be a little bit more irritable. But then I can just find something else to focus on. And sometimes the people are really interesting to me. And then I'll start to talk to them. And our styles, the way we approached it, people, is different. If I get into a really deep conversation with something, then Patrick tunes out and he's gone off somewhere else. But that his, being willing to reach across the divide, so to speak, really helps our business. Because like I said, I am more of the wallflower. So I'm not going to be the one reaching out to a billionaire and inviting them onto our podcast.
But the same thing holds true for any relationship. And I think, I don't know, my boyfriend, it's been almost 10 years, but we got together as adults. I'm 53 years old. He's older than I am. We got together well into our adulthood. And I don't know if that's the difference, or personality-wise the difference. But one of the things that just shocks me about so many relationships is just the lack of common courtesy for each other. They never give each other the benefit of the doubt, right? They would rather pick at each other. And I would just think that relationship partnership together, business partnership together, you've just doubled your chances of doing that and having to be very cognizant to not do that.
Well, we do.
And the same thing that you do. I try to, when I find myself frustrated, I try to remind myself of all the things that I appreciate.
Absolutely. Gratitude. Yeah, it goes a long way in life. And as coaches, we're constantly reminding our clients about having gratitude. And then the same thing with our partners, because I really do appreciate so much of what Patrick has brought into my life, and I have to just continue to remind myself, even though I'm getting kind of choked up.
And that
Because
goes both
has
ways.
been such a blessing.
That goes both ways. And that's the beauty of it. I think Erin, you're talking about how we met later in life. I think that's I wonder what the stats would be on things like that, where you're later in life, you meet somebody, you fall in love, or whatever the case may be. I think you have a huge advantage compared to a young couple starting out, because you've screwed so much stuff up by that time. And if you've gone through a really horrible divorce, like I have, you're like totally, your Spideys are up. You're ready. You're like, I'm doing everything I can, because I don't want to have to go through that pain.
Not doing that again. Well, and the other piece is, a lot of people are like, oh, but you're too set in your ways. And I would say I guess you could go down that road. But I was also like, the best thing about getting older is how much I don't care about things anymore.
Yeah.
Like just nothing has that same weight that it had when you were in your 20s. Like there's a bigger portion of reality that my whole response to is whatever. And right. And I think that helps. And truthfully, if you can bring those lessons into your business, into your team, into your clients, right? So that when a client says something or does something, you don't get so thrown by it. When a prospect says something or does something, you don't get so thrown by it. No, I love it. I love the way that you guys have really melded this together. And also, Dr. Z, totally agree with you. Entrepreneurship is the biggest self-help journey you could possibly go on. You can't, you cannot outgrow, your business cannot outgrow you.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
Your business cannot outgrow. So what is next for you guys? Tell us more about the different pieces with the secrets to self-care. You've got a podcast, you've got a group. Tell me more about all those pieces.
Yeah. So interestingly, you said, Dr. Z, I'm going to go with you first because you've got the accolades and yada, 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 and great things. Great choice. But to give you the rest of the story, a while back, we were talking about stuff. And I said to her, holy cow, she's already mentioned that she's a breast cancer survivor. Guess what? Testicular cancer, 01. Pancreatic tumor, 07. Last year, I had open heart surgery. I was unconscious for 3 days. I'm like, where the hell am I? What year is it when I woke up? And I have this nightmare thing called mold toxicity that I'm still dealing with. I said to her, you know what? We're experts on resilience. Let's create something. This is our wheelhouse: real estate, teaching, healthcare, self-care, all these things. I said, let's figure out a course, the Self-Care 101 Masterclass. What matters to you is what we came up with. And that's, again, when you're thinking about all these different things, what are you passionate about? And I'm like, it's a no-brainer, because this is right there. We know a lot about it. I'm type 1 diabetic. You're
living it every day.
Every day we can do weight loss. We could team up and do that too, because I can tell you what to eat, because I have to eat hardly anything with carbs in it. So I can show you the diet. Dr. Z can give you the mindset. She can give you all the tools, the intermittent fasting, boom, boom, boom. So it's right in our expertise.
It's right in your, and what you're doing is what I call finding the intersection between the thing that you're best at and your client's biggest problem. Like, where does that intersect? And speaking to that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. So Sunday was the last day of State Fair, and we're walking around, and I said to Zelda, this is incredible, the amount of people that are walking around obese. And she said, probably the pandemic had a lot to do with that, because a lot of people are sitting down, they're sedentary, they're sitting around all the time. Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely.
And then the mental health piece, because food just became that source of security and certainty. So that's one thing I talk about a lot too, is like when things are uncertain, cling to that which is certain. And so I think the pandemic really threw off a lot of people. And so starting with that self-care and really looking at, who am I? What do I truly value? What really matters to me? And then how do I want to live my life using those values as my guide and my purpose? And so that's really what we're bringing with our Self-Care 101 masterclass. And then just continuing to expand with the life coaching. So then weight loss coaching. I also do have some workshops on, habit change, habits and changing our habits. So I see us continuing to really grow and expand and deepen our coaching for sure. And then expanding our podcasts and collaborating with others who also do coaching, maybe in areas that are in addition or wider breadth, like trauma, ADHD, bringing those people into our Facebook group and offering that as a value add. And then also I'd like to get into more speaking opportunities, sharing the kind of bridging the gap between the health and the life coaching. So like recognizing how life coaching is the backbone of business coaching, just recognizing too how life coaching also supports health,
Oh,
really
absolutely. Because none of those
thrives
will
that.
change if you don't solve the underlying problems. 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting out there, and the two of us once again. You've hit on it multiple times that there's two of us. I say that all the time. I'm like, there's two of us. We have such a big advantage over other people that are out there trying to do it themselves, because we can support one another, bounce ideas. But yeah, our next thing to tack on is going to be the public speaking, which I'm excited because I'm gaining more and more confidence and courage with just by talking to people and practicing and being in the moment. I've embraced it. I used to have a whiteboard with all these notes, and I'm like, gotta be prepared. I'm nervous and all this stuff.
Just
I'm like,
be human.
She's like, here's the sheet. And I'm like, I don't even need that. Let's just go.
Connect as a human first. Connect.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. I love you said that.
Connect
Connect as a human.
Awesome. Well, that's a really good softball here for us. So if people want to continue connecting with you and learn more about what you're doing, your story, and all the ways you can help them, what is the best way for them to reach out and find you?
Well, they can find us on LinkedIn. Just look us up by our names, and they can go to secretstoselfcare.com.
Perfect.
To join our free Facebook group. And we're really excited because we're looking to build that out and bring self-care experts on, create a directory so that people can come on. There's a gal we got to connect with who's an ADHD doctor. And we want to have people like these specialists that are within our group that they can get to do some videos with them inside of our group so that they can go, hey, that person's seems pretty cool. I might
vetted resources. We are all looking for vetted resources.
Absolutely.
So that's also
Absolutely
awesome. So secretstoselfcare.com.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's the best way.
Thank you guys for sharing your time, your story, your energy, your insights.
Thank you.
And the things. Always love talking to you guys.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share to your audience.
Awesome.